In the quiet of Gethsemane, Jesus prayed with a burdened heart, aware that the darkest hour was near. His closest followers, overcome by fatigue, could not keep watch, leaving Jesus to bear his anguish alone. Wrestling with his fate, Jesus pleaded, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." In the stillness, Judas arrived with armed men, betraying Jesus to those who sought to arrest him. With a kiss, Judas handed the master over, fulfilling the sign by which the soldiers would know whom to seize. Though one disciple tried to fight, Jesus chose the path of submission, allowing himself to be taken without resistance. Bound and led away, Jesus began a night of trials, suffering the first step toward his ultimate sacrifice. Taken to the high priest, Jesus faced accusations and interrogation under the cover of night. Though false witnesses arose, Jesus spoke truth, declaring himself the Son of God, igniting their outrage. In a burst of indignation, they condemned him for blasphemy, sentencing him to death in their eyes. Meanwhile, Peter, fearful of sharing his master's fate, denied ever knowing him, just as Jesus had foretold. In sorrow, Peter fled as the rooster's crow sealed his denial, and dawn began to break on the darkest day. Handed over to Pilate, the Roman governor, Jesus stood accused of claiming to be king of the Jews. Though Pilate found no guilt in him, the clamor outside grew, pressuring him to make a fateful choice. Desiring to appease the crowd, Pilate symbolically washed his hands of the affair, condemning Jesus to crucifixion. They clothed him in a mock robe, pressed a thorny crown upon his head, and mocked him as king. In silent acceptance, Jesus endured their cruelty, never returning hatred for hate. Burdened by the weight of the cross, he stumbled onward to the place called Golgotha. A stranger named Simon was compelled to carry the cross alongside Jesus, sharing in his final steps. Mary, his mother, watched in anguish, powerless to halt the agony unfolding before her eyes. At the site called the skull, soldiers set the stage for the most painful of punishments. In cruel efficiency, they drove nails through his hands and feet, pinning him to the wood. Between two criminals, the innocent Son of Man was raised up, fulfilling ancient prophecies. Despite the agony, Jesus prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Crowds gathered, some mourning, some hurling insults. Yet his mother and beloved disciple remained faithfully by his side. For 3 hours, darkness fell over the land, a shroud reflecting the weight of this moment. In the depths of suffering, he voiced the anguish of every soul in distress. With a final cry, Jesus declared his work complete, releasing his spirit into the Father's hands. In that instant, the veil of the temple was torn, symbolizing a new way to approach God. Struck by the events, a centurion proclaimed, "Truly this was the Son of God." Grief and stillness settled among his followers as the Lord of Life hung silent. In reverence, they took him down, preparing his body for burial with spices and cloth. Among the mourners stood Mary Magdalene, her heart torn, yet unwilling to leave her Lord. They placed his body in a garden tomb, one cut from solid rock, intending to honor him in death. A heavy stone sealed the entrance, veiling hope behind cold rock as the Sabbath approached. Fearing rumors of resurrection, authorities posted guards to ensure no one disturbed the tomb. His followers, overwhelmed by grief, quietly observed the Sabbath, hearts heavy with unanswered questions. All remained silent through the night, hope lying dormant within the sealed darkness. Unaware of the miracle soon to unfold, they kept their weary vigil at the break of day. Then at dawn on the first day of the week, an angel appeared, shifting the course of history forever. The stone was rolled away, not by human strength, but by divine power. Inside, only his burial cloth remained, for death could no longer hold the Son of God. Mary Magdalene came at sunrise, only to find the stone removed and the tomb standing open. She ran to alert the disciples, fearing someone had taken the body in secret. Peter and John dashed to the tomb, hearts pounding with both dread and faint hope. Hesitating at first, John peered in, but Peter entered the tomb unafraid, searching for answers. They found only the folded linen where Jesus had lain, stirring both confusion and wonder in their souls. Uncertain but moved, they departed. Yet Mary Magdalene remained, weeping beside the open grave. Through her tears, she glimpsed two angels seated where his body once rested, their presence aglow with divine calm. She sensed a figure behind her, unaware at first that the man she beheld was the risen Lord. When he said her name,
Mary.
her eyes opened to the truth. The one she mourned now stood alive before her. In reverence and awe, Mary clung to him, overjoyed yet scarcely believing her eyes. Mary hurried to the disciples, heart ablaze with the astonishing truth she had witnessed. She burst into the room declaring, "I have seen the Lord," stirring them from their sorrow. Though elation spread through many, others wrestled with doubt, unable to grasp this miracle. Thomas, absent at first, refused to believe unless he could see and touch the risen Lord for himself. In the quiet of a locked room, Jesus appeared, dispelling fear and breathing peace upon his trembling followers. He called Thomas forward, offering proof of his wounds, and Thomas's doubt turned instantly into worship. Overcome, Thomas confessed, "My Lord and my God," embracing the truth of the resurrection. Reassuring them, Jesus spoke words of hope and commanded them to carry his message to every nation. In unity of heart, they prepared to share the good news, emboldened by his triumph over the grave. Together they broke bread once more, recalling his sacrifice and celebrating the life he restored. As days passed, he guided them beyond the city walls, where he would bid them farewell. Lifting his hands in blessing, Jesus entrusted them with the mission to proclaim his gospel to all. Before their very eyes, he ascended into heaven, leaving them with the promise of his abiding presence. Marveling at this glorious departure, they clung to his words and the comfort of the Holy Spirit.